Good afternoon, students. We'll start now. Okay, so today we are going to study inference rules in first order logic. Uh, so, if you remember, we have seen inference techniques uh, for propositional logic, right? So, similarly, we have uh, inference techniques or procedure for first order logic also. And what we do in inference, uh, by doing inference, we either try to draw logically sound conclusion, or we want to prove some given fact. Okay, so whether that given fact is derived from the statements which are present in our knowledge base, right? So here by inference we are trying to draw logically sound conclusion from the knowledge base expressed in first order logic. Now here we are going to focus on three inference techniques: forward chaining, backward chaining, and resolution refutation. Same techniques were there in propositional logic also. Okay, so their main working is same. Okay, but it is extended for first order logic. And we measure the performance of any inference procedure by two parameters, that is soundness and completeness. Now we are familiar with this notation, but once again I will explain this the difference between these two notation. The first one is the inference notation. So this is it says A infers B, okay, or in general words we can say that A implies B, and this is the notation of entailment. Okay, so A entails B. Okay, now soundness. So the given inference procedure is sound if we have A implies B, and if we can prove that A entails B with the help of that inference procedure, then we can say that the given inference procedure is sound. And completeness, it is reverse. So if we have A entails B, and if we can prove A infers B, then we can say that the given inference procedure is completeness. Now we will discuss this point in depth when we after the discussion on these three techniques. Okay, so we will get back to this point later on. Now it is said that forward and backward chaining are sound, but they are incomplete. Okay, so this is the drawback of forward and backward chaining. And resolution, that is our third technique, it is sound and complete, but it is very inefficient. Okay, why it is very inefficient? So if you can recall resolution technique from propositional logic, there you have to decide which two facts to utilize. Okay, and then we have to decide which inference rule to apply, right? So it is like a NP hard problem. Okay, because if you have 10 facts, you have to do permutation combination, and then you have to decide which rule to apply. Okay, that's why it becomes very inefficient. Okay, so we are going to focus on these three techniques, and then we will discuss about soundness and completeness of those techniques. Now before studying those three techniques, we have some one simple inference technique. So the idea is that so we know that there were some drawbacks in propositional logic, and with the introduction of some concept like quantifiers and variables, we tried to overcome those problems. And we know that first order logic is like a superset of propositional logic, right? And we have very strong inference rules for propositional logic. If you don't remember, inference rules means we have studied these rules, different rules: commutative, then double negation elimination, implication elimination, De Morgan's law, and then this modern Sponens rules, add elimination, then double negation elimination, unit resolution technique, right? With the help of these rules and inference mechanism, we can derive new fact, or we can prove new given fact, right? So we have strong inference mechanism in case of a propositional logic. So here the idea is that if we could convert a given first order logic statement into the propositional statement, then we can directly use this inference mechanism to derive new fact, right? So in this technique we are going to do that. We are going to convert a first order logic statement into the, see here, this is the converted statement. So here there is no quantifiers, okay, so it is a propositional statement. Okay, so this is our first technique. So for that we need some rules and some notation. So let us study those notations. Inference rules for quantifiers. Okay, now our aim is to remove the quantifiers. So what we do here, first we are going to define function. This sub st stands for substitution. Theta is our substitution list, and alpha is our given statement. Okay, so see the example, uncle x comma y, this is our given statement. Okay, x and y are the variables. So it says that x is the uncle of y. Okay, now what we can do, we can replace x with Tom and y with Fred. Okay, so this curly bracket is showing substitution list. Okay, so we are replacing x with Tom and y with Fred. Okay, so if I put x equals to Tom, so uncle Tom and y equals to Fred, so this sentence become uncle Tom Fred. Okay, so Tom is the uncle of Fred. Okay, so this is given by this function. So theta is representing our substitution list and alpha is our given sentence. Okay, so this function returns an updated sentence. So this is our updated or substituted sentence, right? So I think this is clear to you. Okay, so now what happens here, first inference rule is universal elimination. Okay, so here you are going to eliminate the universal quantifier. We know that this is our universal quantifier, right? So by universal elimination we try to remove universal quantifier. Okay, so how it works now, so consider this is our given sentence. It says for all x loves x FOPC. FOPC stands for first order predicate calculus. Okay, it says that everybody loves for first order predicate calculus. Okay, now if this is true for everybody, then it will be true for any one of the person, right? So let's say Ray. Okay, so what we have done here, we have replaced x with Ray, as this is true for all, right? Ray also satisfies that, so we can say that Ray loves FOPC. Okay, so we have removed this universal quantifier. Okay, so what happens here, so for all v is a set of variables. Okay, so here we have only x in the variable, we can have multiple variables, and alpha is our given statement. Okay, it implies that you substitute v with g. Okay, you substitute with v with g. What do you mean by g? G is known as ground term. It is known as ground term. So this is one of the entity from the universe of discourse. Okay, so here universe of discourse is people, right? So we have replaced that v, which is our x here, by one of the person from the universe of discourse. Okay, so this is how we can eliminate universal quantifier. Now next is existential elimination. Okay, so here we will try to eliminate the existential quantifier. Okay, so here the sentence given is owns Mary X, cat X. Okay, so it says that Mary owns X, X is a cat, implies. Okay, so now, so this is our given sentence. Now we want to eliminate this existential quantifier. Now can I replace x with any arbitrary entity, just like universal, what we did in universal elimination? No. Why? Because when we say universal quantifier, the given sentence will be true for all the entities, but in existential it will be true for at least one, and we don't know which one is satisfying that condition. Okay, so that's why we cannot write any arbitrary entity here. Okay, so that's why what we do, we put some predefined constant, and that is known as Skolem constant, and this process is known as Skolemization. Okay, so what we do, we replace that variable with some other variable which is known as Skolem constant that doesn't occur elsewhere in the KB. KB is our knowledge base. Okay, which is not present in that knowledge base, we replace with that variable because we are not aware which variable satisfies that statement, right? Okay, so here we have considered Mary's cat as the Skolem constant, and we have replaced x with that. Okay, because Mary's cat, this variable is not in our is not even in our knowledge base, right? Okay, did you get this concept? What is the difference between these two elimination rules? Here we can easily replace the variable with any entity because it is true for all, but in existential we don't know which entity satisfies that condition. Okay, that's why we replace it with the Skolem constant. Next rule we use is existential introduction. Okay, so if the given fact is this one, Ray loves f of pc, okay, so one entity is satisfying this. Okay, so we can introduce the existential quantifier. So there exists some x who loves f of pc. At least one entity is there, which is in this case is Ray, right? Okay, so this is existential introduction. So this is like a simplification, and this is like a generalization. Okay, now one example is given here. So these are the given facts in our knowledge base, and we want to derive father Tom John. So it says Tom is a father of John. Okay, so these are the given facts. So let us derive. Okay, so now what is our aim? Our aim is to remove these quantifiers. Okay, so we have universal quantifier here, so we have to apply universal elimination. First you try to understand the given facts. What is given? For all xy, parent xy, so x is a parent of y, and if x is a male, then we can say that x is a father of y, which is true, right? So we can have x can be female also, right? But if and is there, right? So x is a parent of y and x is male, then x will be father of y, right? So this is true. Then one fact is given with constant. Tom and John are the constant. Tom is a parent of John. Tom is a male. Then we can say that Tom is a father of John, right? So we have to prove this with the inference rules. Okay, so let us do that. So first is universal elimination, because we have universal quantifier. Let us apply that. We have two variables here, so let us first replace x. X is replaced with Tom. Okay, because we can see here Tom is there, so it is better to replace x with Tom. Okay, so at every location of x, x is replaced with Tom. Okay, and it is gone from this quantifier list also. Then we apply universal elimination for y variable, and in this case we replace y with John. Okay, so y is replaced with John. Okay, so we have obtained this. Then okay, so this is our statement number 5. Then by using statement 2 and 3, okay, we can apply an introduction. So let me show you the list. Can you see this third number rule and introduction? So if alpha is the given fact, beta is the given fact, then we can add them, okay, with the help of and, alpha and beta. So that is and introduction. So parent Tom John is given, male Tom is given, so let us combine them with and. Okay, this is and introduction. And then so this is our alpha let's say it is alpha, and here we have alpha implies beta. Let us say this is beta. Then we have modus ponens rules. Okay, so we have alpha and alpha implies beta, that implies beta, so implies beta, and we have proved the given sentence. Did you get this concept? Okay, so what is the inference logic here? First, we are trying to reduce our first order logic statement to the propositional statement, and then we are using the inference rules of propositional logic to prove this predicate first order logic statement. Okay, then we have generalized modus ponens. Okay, so we have so this is our normal modus ponens rule, and then we have generalized modus ponens. Okay, so what we have here, so this is actually a combination of 3 steps: universal elimination and introduction and modus ponens. Okay, so this example, this proof is actually the example of that generalized modus ponens. Okay, so if we combine these 3 processes, that rule is known as generalized modus ponens. So here consider this example, same example. Okay, so what we did earlier, first we have applied universal elimination, and then add introduction, and then finally modus ponens, right? Okay, so we can directly conclude, if this is the given facts, we can directly derive this, okay, with the help of this generalized modus ponens rules, and we know how it came, right? We have the derivation here. Okay, so now what happened here, so modus ponens, simple modus ponens was there in propositional logic, and with the help of this multiple processes, we have lifted that rule to support the first order logic, right? That process is known as lifting. Okay, remember that what we did, we added some processes so that the given law supports first order logic statements. Such process is known as lifting process. Okay, remember this word, lifted. So here what we did, we have lifted modus ponens rule to support first order logic statement. Okay, so too many terminologies are there. Okay, best way to remember these terminologies is by reading the textbook. Okay, and mark the concepts there. Okay, and you write your own notes, then it will be clear. Okay, then next one is canonical form, and we are familiar with this. We have studied Horn clause and definite clause, so we have same concepts here also. Only additional part is that before the statement we will have quantifiers, that's it. Okay, and we know that what is definite clause. If in a given sentence, okay, so this is variable list v1 to vn, and these are our predicates. Okay, if we have disjunction of the literals, okay, disjunction means or, in between you can see or, okay, and if all the variables are negated except one, okay, exactly one, then we can say that that clause is in definite clause. Okay, and if we have at most one positive variable, then it is known as Horn clause. Okay, so in Horn clause we have at most one non-negated literal, and in definite clause exactly one non-negated literal. Okay, this will come when we study forward chaining and backward chaining, or in refutation also. Okay, then next concept is known as unification. Okay, this is very simple again. Okay, now here how we decided to replace X with Tom, because we have observed here, if we compare this parent XY and second sentence parent Tom John, we can derive that X has to be replaced with Tom, right? From using different sentences we have decided that, but what computer will do now, computer can replace x with all the variables, right? He can try putting the values by applying brute force approach. He can replace x with any variable, right? And in one instance he will replace with Tom and he could derive this sentence, right? Okay, but how to decide to replace x with Tom? Okay, so that can be done with the help of unification. So what we do in unification, so here we try to unify two atomic sentences. This P and Q are the two atomic sentences. This unify function, so we have defined this function unify. You unify these two sentences, this will return a substitution, okay, substitution list. Okay, now see the example here. So I will provide this one sentence and second sentence. So these sentences will come from the knowledge base. Okay, so they are existing literals in the knowledge base, and unify function will compare the variables. So x has to be replaced with Tom. Okay, so we have this substitution x/Tom. So x has to be replaced with Tom and y should be replaced with John. Okay, so unify function returns the substitution list. Okay, and this theta is known as unifier. Okay, so for this universal elimination and existential elimination, first we will apply unification technique. We'll find out the substitution and then we will eliminate the quantifiers. Did you get this concept? Okay, so we'll see forward chaining tomorrow, forward and backward chaining.